Welcome to everyone joining. We will get started just shortly. We're going to give everyone a couple minutes to join. If you're needing closed captioning, please make sure that you have that set up. You can click that at the bottom. There's also a link within the chat. If you're having any technical difficulties throughout this program, please put that in the chat. One of our team members will help with that, as well as if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the Q&A box and we can get to those throughout the program. All right, well, it is 10 a.m. That is when our program is scheduled to start. We have so much to get through, so we are going to get going. Just as a reminder for anyone who has just joined, please make sure that you turn on captionings if you need those. They are available. We also have interpreters on the line to help with that. Captioning can be activated by clicking the closed captioning button at the bottom, or as well as clicking the link in the chat. If you have any questions, please put those into the Q&A throughout the program. We will get to those. And if you have any technical difficulties, please make sure that you notify us in the chat. One of our team members will work to help you with that. Thank you. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Avery Burschauer. I use she, her pronouns. I am a white woman in my 30s. I have long blonde hair. I'm wearing a white long sleeve t-shirt and I have a white background behind me. I am one of the steering committee members for the Seattle Cultural Accessibility Consortium. And on behalf of everyone at SCAC, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to have you. Our program today is creating inclusive art, and we'll be learning directly from artists with disabilities today. It's a very exciting program that we have set up for you. I also identify, just FYI, as being legally blind. So with that said, I'm actually going to turn off my camera so it's easier for me to read the slides, but wanted to give everyone a chance to see me, see that I'm a real person. So just one moment. While I do that, my room is excessively bright today. Apologies. If we want to go ahead and go to the next slide while I turn it off, we'll do that. There we go. Okay, thank you for your patience, everyone. So we want to kick things off, make sure that we take the time to acknowledge the land that we are on. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, specifically the Duwamish tribe. This land acknowledgement does not take the place for creating meaningful relationships with Indigenous peoples, but instead is a first step to honoring the land that we are in and we are on. Besides just acknowledging the land, we encourage everyone to take it a step farther, to take some action. So we encourage you to learn more about the Indigenous land that you are on and its people. If you're in the Seattle area, here we have, in the slides were shared out previously, we have the Duwamish information to learn about the Duwamish tribe. There's also information on how to pay real rent, and that is a payment to the Duwamish tribe for existing on their land. And if you are joining us from outside of Seattle, which I believe many people are, then you can use this link here to find out what Indigenous land you're on yourself. Fantastic. We want to set the stage for today's event. This is a safe place. It is a very big deal that you're here. We want to encourage everyone to refrain from judgment, speak your truth while knowing that the truth for other people may be different, and to approach with curiosity. Recognize privilege in yourself and others. Accept that each person and organization operates from a different place of accomplishment. Listen and pause to understand before responding. Take responsibility. Take responsibility for your contributions. Acknowledge that today's conversation, it may reveal bravery, and there may be moments of being uncomfortable. And gestures of kindness and offers of assistance are always strongly encouraged. Thank you. We want to make sure that we take a moment to thank our sponsors that allow us to bring these great programs to you at no cost. So thank you to the Seattle Theater Group, STG, the Pacific Northwest Ballet, the Office of Arts and Seattle's Office of Arts and Culture, the Seattle Foundation, as well as Arts Washington. If you yourself are interested, if your organization would like to sponsor us, we'd love to add you onto this slide for future programs. So please be sure to contact us for sponsorship opportunities. Next slide. And if you on an individual level would like to contribute, we'd love that too. Donating allows us to bring to you these programs, again, at no upfront cost, and helps us with our mission. And with that, I'm going to hand it over today to our moderator, Claudia.
Hello, and welcome to a conversation centering artists with disabilities, where we're going to talk about some accessibility. I am so excited and thrilled to have these amazing artists join us. I'm Claudia Alec, pronouns they, theirs. Visual description, I'm an African-American woman with a big brown afro. I'm wearing protective gloves on my hands. Sometimes my cane might make it into the shot, sometimes not. You cannot see, but I have many, many ice packs strapped to me, but I don't think those are visible on camera. And I am actually inside of my deeply accessible recording studio. And this is a photograph projected behind me of my bedroom wall, because I like to feel like I'm in my other spaces when I'm in this one. It is so wonderful to begin this conversation. I would like to welcome all of our artists, and I want to start off. I recognize our audience has had a chance to explore your biographies using the slide deck, and we want to use this hour. We only have an hour, and we want to get the best conversation possible. So I'm just going to get us kicked off. I find that our industry is often filled with a mythology that suggests that because we're disabled, that's somehow a hindrance to our great art and the things that we do. And I would argue that it's additive. And that's why we have moments like this, so we can talk about it. So I want to start off with asking you, how has the experience of living with a disability informed your creative practice?
For me, sorry.
Oh, and I was just going to say, when you start, if you could do a small introduction with name and gender pronouns, that would be deeply helpful. Thank you so much.
My name is Bean Fairbanks. I go by the pronouns she, her. I have long gray, brown, curly hair, glasses, and I am broadcasting from my kitchen with 2 pictures of my art behind me. For me, in terms of my disability, a lot of it, I have, excuse me, and I do visual art. One of my disabilities is speech, as you can tell. But the ones that impacted my art primarily were hand tremors, fatigue, and visual problems. And with the hand tremors and the visual problems, I didn't think I'd ever be doing art again. It wouldn't happen. And I entered art, definitely not hold a brush. I came back by learning with alcohol inks with a hair dryer and cotton swabs, which you can see in the green one behind. And, you know, I said, oh, I like that. And I got some more feedback. So then I started looking for classes that I could get into, and I gained more and more confidence. And on my other side is an acrylic painting, self-portrait of myself, kind of Picasso-like.
Thank you so much, Bean. I'm realizing because we're not in shared space, I can't do that subtle thing where I just sort of open up my body and lean in and gesture to be like, hey, anyone who wants to go. So instead of calling on people, I'm just going to allow you to respond as you will. And I'm realizing I failed to do an access check-in for myself, and I want to model that and invite you to do it as well if that's helpful to you. An access check-in is just a moment as you're doing your check-in or your introduction to say, these are my access needs. This interrupts the assumption that everyone's access needs are met, and also that talking about it isn't sometimes necessary. Thank you for the deep accessibility of this space. There are captions, and I've got my drinks and my ice packs, so all of my access needs are met. So looking forward to the rest of our panelists responding to, how has the experience of living with a disability informed your creative practice?
Peace, peace, peace. Good morning, everyone. My name is King Chasm. I use he, him pronouns. Middle-aged Asian American male. Currently seated in my home office / recording studio, surrounded by Star Wars memorabilia, comic books, and a lot of audio technology. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I think that broadly, my creative practice is just informed by life. I don't particularly look at my experiences through. I mean, I do it through a disability lens, but it's just life. And so, the art that I create is just often reflections of my experiences, what I'm going through, what inspires me, the feelings that I'm having, the challenges, you know, music and art and all the different. I love many different forms of art. So ranging different disciplines, and they all kind of help me in different ways. And so my experiences has been personally gratifying, and also to know that the art as a byproduct is also something that other people can connect and relate to, and in many cases help them as well, whether through exploring challenging ideas or concepts, or thinking about things in new and different ways. So thank you.
I'll jump in. Hi, my name is Malika Oyetaman. I am a Black woman in her 30s. I am wearing a colorful head wrap and a pink shirt, and I am sitting in front of a lot of colorful things in my background, including a knitted brain, but I digress. Claudia, then I go right into how my disability informs my art, right? I see your gloved hands, yes. I'm pretty newly disabled, so I would say that I'm learning that. My disability anniversary is in a month, less than actually. It's been 3 years. So the last 3 years have been a lot of recovery. For me, I'm finding how to make art in this new body, kind of like Bean was saying. I thought I would never be able to make the art that I make again because I'm a director. And when I suffered my brain injury, I couldn't speak for a really long time, which you have to be able to speak to direct. So I'm kind of getting a lot of myself back. And answering that question would be my art practice is really being informed by my disability because I'm being made to slow down in ways that my mentor was trying to make me understand I needed to do. But now I fully understand that I need to slow down and have time between my projects and have time between the art that I make. And it made me jump off of the hamster wheel of that art making can sometimes be.
Hi, my name is Christa Gray, and I am an African-American male in the 50s. My pronouns are he, him. I think that my disability has really made me focus a lot on quality and commitment. And I think, because I'm a dance teacher, and prior to my disability, which is diagnosed with Parkinson's about 3 years ago, I realized that I wanted to continue what I was doing, but a lot of the things I was doing, I didn't have the same capabilities. But I found a whole new world, and I realized that I can still do what I'm doing with the same kind of commitment. And but there will be some limitations. And that's why I really enjoy being here on this panel, because I think we're going to discover some things together about what could be beneficial for us all. Thank you.
I'm just trying to not get overexcited because I'm really invested in this conversation. And truthfully, again, I'm just going to show my full bias. I think that our lived experience informs us in ways that make the field better. Like I love how you talked about how your own body's necessities they help you to well, I'm going to paraphrase. You're pacing for justice. You're creating a pace that is healthy for your body and possibly healthier for all of your collaborators and the human beings around you. And why does our industry ask us to pace in ways that are harmful to bodies? Maybe that's an extra benefit. I love listening to the ways your aesthetics have grown, how the content that you're making can connect to new audiences in deeper ways. Just, I'm excited. Now, of course, I started off with the what's awesome about us and why is our stuff, what makes us awesome and what makes our art awesome. But, you know, we're here to have a conversation with the field, and the field, it's always throwing up barriers. I work with the social model of disability. So my argument isn't that your body is the thing that's causing the barrier. It's the industries that cause the barriers. So I would like to surface some of the barriers that we're experiencing. So if you could share some significant challenges that you have faced as an artist with a disability. Significant challenges you faced as an artist with a disability. I feel like that'll help us to start surfacing some of those barriers so that we can maybe talk about making them more accessible later.
I'm gonna jump. I feel like King was about to jump, but I jumped. Sorry, King.
First, go ahead.
The biggest thing, there's a lot of things and we'll talk about them, but the thing that just popped to my mind was I got sick very acutely, and the industry really showed up for me in a really beautiful way that I didn't know about until I got well enough to know what was happening in the world besides just trying to stay alive. But then I found that when I was going through recovery and I had reached a certain stage where I was ready, I had got my speech back, I got my motor skills back, I started to walk again. I was ambulatory wheelchair walker and I was ready. I was like, I'm back. The industry was like, oh, well, yeah. Call us Malika when Malika is back. Call us when she's back, obviously in nicer ways, but call us when we don't have to accommodate you in ways that are scary for us. I'll tell a really quick story. I was doing a show, like a lot of people, I was booked and busy before I got sick. Everything had to get canceled, obviously, but there were a few shows that actually I could have done, but the theater, when we started talking accommodations, just weren't. And I got sick pre the murder of George Floyd. So this is before, anyone in America apparently realized there was a problem with equity and justice. And I found that kind of the reception that I had before the uprising in 2020 and the pandemic was a lot different than after. When I was trying to get accommodations made and I was trying to enter the field being like, yes, I'm now disabled, but I can work, I just need help. People were really smiling and nice when they said no, and call us when you're better. And that was the big thing is if it made me feel like, oh, okay, you can either be dead or you can be able-bodied. But that in between, we don't want you. I feel like things have changed, but there's I can even hear myself. It still makes me really emotional because it was like, woof, we don't want you, not broken. That's how it felt. So.
Word, Chasm here. Indeed. I think some challenge. I mean, there's many, so I probably just have to limit myself. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, music producer, performer, but I also do visual arts and multimedia and a whole range of other things. So I guess in respect, the challenges are broad. In terms of a performer and a traveling artist, it's been very difficult. I have a spinal cord injury and I'm a wheelchair user. I've been using my wheelchair since I don't know 35 plus years, and so all the logistics of tour life in general are difficult, and then you add wheelchair and limited hand finger functionality. It just complicates things even more. So I would say a big challenge has just been getting from venue to venue, traveling freely, being the whole world of travel, from airplanes and how regular it is for wheelchairs to get broken, which is an unfortunate reality. Hotels that say that they're accessible and kind of are, but kind of not, could be better. Transportation, just getting from location to location, and cities that have reliable accessibility services. the venues themselves, from getting on the stage, going to the green room, sometimes it can feel almost like a second class artist, in certain ways, but we just roll with the punches and we do what we got to do to get out there and just let that experience of the performance speak for itself. But yeah, it's in the whole range of things. Also, on the art tip, doing large scale work, obviously murals and installations is a lot more logistically challenging. Often having to hire additional support and assistance, preferably assistants that know what they're doing or that have certain skill levels and capacities, which is of course additional expenses. And so, yeah, I think I probably just stop there. But I look at it as a beautiful struggle, and this life is sacred, and it's just a part of the process and the journey. So, we just got to do what we got to do to get our art out there. And yeah, peace.
So for me, I have different categories that are challenging. So one is my hand tremors. I cannot draw a straight line. The other is my vision. I can't make corners match because they keep on moving on me. And in terms of, I'm also a wheelchair user, and so I have to use accommodation to be able to paint because I don't have the strength to use that easel without it. And the other thing for me is just the fatigue, and getting to places. I mean, there's art shows I've been invited to that are not accessible. One of the major visual art schools in Seattle is not accessible by any stretch of the imagination. There is no floors that have a restroom on it, and most of the classes are on the 3rd floor. And I did try once, just kind of sliding up on my butt. Once was enough. It was just too much for me. And the other is cognitive. In the last years, recently, I've really had a cognitive decline, which impacts how I process information and how I retain information. And so, I will forget where I am. I will forget what colors I use to make a particular color. I have to write everything down. So those have been my major challenges.
So this is Christa Gray. Yeah, I agree with everything the other artists said. It's really, the whole thing is a challenge. But the one thing I must say, though, is that art is freedom. Art is self-expression. Art carries you through. But it is it takes a lot of meditating and realizing where you are in your life to continue this journey. Yeah, you're slower, your cognition is slower. So it's an acceptance, but it does have a silver lining in terms of being able to do art and to express yourself. So that's how I feel about that. Thank you.
So our audience has a lot of arts administrators, artists, arts producers. I wrote an article that was entitled Producing from the Disabled Lens. And it was literally about how, because I was actually disabled, I was able to make choices to create more accessibility for my artists, because I recognized, yes, I'm going to have to schedule 2 extra days of travel for all of my artists just in case their wheelchairs get destroyed. I can't tell you how many times I have had airlines have to replace my walker. It's a thing. And so these are, I would mark these as producing deficits. These are ignorance bubbles that folks have. And we as disabled artists are often subsidizing. We're doing a bunch of extra labor to help make up for their gap, their knowledge gap, where they're creating some stuff because they're designing for an abled artist rather than designing a process that would work for a more diverse group of folks. I really appreciate you naming that people saying no on your behalf, deciding they know your competency more than you, that is not helpful. That is not useful. That is harmful to us. We know how great we are. We know what we can do, and we wouldn't say we want to do it if we couldn't do it. I also just want to lift up the statement about cognitive accessibility. I think that our field is finally getting to a place where we're starting to realize we have to design for cognitive accessibility. Captions are not only for the deaf. Captions are an additional record of what is happening in the room. What are the different tools that we are just designing into our artistic process to help support that? So I just want to name that these are important, I think, accessibility pathways for good design for all of us. Hey, audience, I'm wondering if you have any questions for us. We're going to keep talking for about another 15 minutes. But do you have questions? Please put them in we have a Q&A function, and we're gonna talk about your questions at the end of this conversation. So please give us some questions to talk about. Amazing panelists, thank you for your diversity of experience and the depth of your experience, and also just the vulnerability of actually sharing what it's really like. I'm wondering if you could share an example of a time when you actually felt supported by an arts institution. I want to go back to, like, can we find some examples of best practice of modeling that worked for us? So is there an example of a time that you felt supported by an art institution, or were there some specific types of accommodations or considerations that are very meaningful to you and they haven't happened, but you'd like for them to happen? I just want to make space for that conversation.
So for me, there's actually two pieces. In terms of my initial contact with an organization, they were insisting that service dogs need to be certified or registered. That is not the case. And the law is very specific in terms of a service dog. And I was able to correct them about that. And they made the changes within 2 days on their protocol and on their website. And then that same organization, I was complaining about I couldn't get to the sink because my wheelchair wouldn't fit. I couldn't get to the bathroom because I couldn't get behind people in their chairs. So we've worked together, and now I'm the disability advocate for the organization, and they're on the program advisory board, and there's a new building coming up, and they had me look over all the blueprints. And so sometimes I have other students question, what about if I lose something? Oh, if people have a cognitive disability, well, they're stupid. They're not going to be able to figure it out anyway. But the staff has been extremely supportive and given me opportunities to educate people.
Oh, this is Christa Gray again. Just to answer that question about institutional support, I've been doing this for quite a while, and the one thing I can say about organizations, like I've worked for Seattle Theater Group, the Pacific Northwest Ballet, and several of the local theaters, how I look at support is the fact that they hire you and you work for them for quite a few years, and they continue to call on your service. That's what I consider support. The fact that, because I know Malika had mentioned something earlier about sometimes they don't call you back, and that happens too, but the institutions that know you and have seen your work and is willing to continue the relationship, I think that's a wonderful thing. That's what I would call support in this particular circumstance, Thank you.
I'll hop on that idea that Chris just lifted, and hiring back is really great support. Employment is great support. Amen. I'll call them out because we call people out usually in the bad way. You asked that question and 4 places came to mind in different ways that like shocked me, the level of empathy and vulnerability. I'm currently a full-time professor at Boston University, and I'm only able to do that because of the program head. She is an amazing woman who leads with empathy, and every step of the way, if I mention something that I might not be able to do, I don't have to do it due to my needs, my different needs. I just did a show at Seattle Rep when their theater was not accessible. The small theater was not accessible. I could not tech in that theater. I could not go from one side to the other. I couldn't get onto the stage. I use mobility aids and I need them every day. They took out a row of seats in the theater and kept them out for the entire tech process. They put rugs in so my rollator could go back and forth. They rented a rollator so that when I got on stage, I could get my Cadillac and sit on stage. Those will be blueprints for me going forward. That's how good it was. My body needs support. The theaters that I work at now, I get like one of those upholstered chairs. So these are things that are amazing. The Art in Theater, when I first got sick, I didn't end up doing their show because of COVID, but they were amazing. They were very empathetic. So for me, it's when I talk about my complaints, and quite honestly, it's new. I've been advocating for myself as a Black woman my whole life, but this is new. So I get, my medical trauma is very close. I'm still fighting medically. And so I get very shaky and a little girlish sometimes when I'm asking for these things, excuse me, even when I talk about it. When a theater listens through that and then gives me what I need, that is the most amazing support. Just because I'm shouting them out, Merrimack Repertory Theater has been amazing. The artistic director traveled with me, Courtney Sale traveled with me to Seattle so that I would have a companion because it was my first time traveling for work. So when I think of support, I think of not just checking off boxes and being like, we have this checklist. You see, like, we did it. I think of listening to me, even when I'm crying, because mine is a brain injury and I cry all the time now. And listening through the tears and getting me what I need is the most amazing support.
Indeed, Chasm here, and yeah, I was just thinking about the check boxes too. Sometimes it can be just like more of a obligatory or like a prerequisite of like, oh well, we made this attempt, and that's great. But just like the industry of medicine and science and technology, things advance and people's understanding of even their own abilities evolves. And so, it's not just a cookie cutter, one size fits all type thing. And, as time moves forward, so the intention with different organizations and learning and about being more mindful and more inclusive and accessible should also be just a part of the mission. I think, there's been a few different experiences out there would really lended towards positive experience. I recently served on with the Seattle Theater Group. They had a community advisory group, and over the course of the year, took time to get different figures in the community, artists and administrators and so forth, to just to learn about their experiences, a wide range of folks, and just learning about the different ways that the organization can be more inclusive and accessible and many broad aspects. For Culture had a really great program. I serve on the board, so I'm not a recipient of this program, but the ARC artist program, I feel has been really great resource because different years they focus on different communities, and whether it be disability communities or Native communities, being able to lend resources, i.e. funding to different marginalized groups. And the thing that was really, I think, unique and special about it is it's unrestricted. You know, as you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different, you know, barriers, costly barriers, rather, that maybe not in line with, you know, program eligibility or things that, you know, might not be deemed as really like essential for that specific, you know, project or program. But you know, just having the flexibility with unrestricted funding is a huge resource, and that's something that I would love to see more of. Yeah, you know, strides are being made with different institutions. Do cultural ambassador work with the U.S. Department of State, and you know, a lot of work to be done, but they've been very supportive and accommodating, especially for international travels and being able to get the support that I need to get around, especially in other countries that don't have an ADA. You know, we have a lot of work to do with that, but other places that are, you know, really simple solutions that can be done that just aren't even a blip on the radar. So keep up the fight, keep up the good work.
All right, so I hope folks are taking a lot of notes because y'all are dropping science. Bean, thank you for talking about the, I just want to name that I think that we are subsidizing the field. Why? Because they are getting an incredible value from your lived experience. And it is gorgeous to hear that they are talking to you before they build the building. It's a lot easier to build something right the first time rather than try to fix it after you're done making it. So I just want to shout that out. I also just want to say thank you, Malika, for calling up organizations. Thank you, King, for naming organizations that you've worked with and had positive exchange with. That's gorgeous. Yes, Chris, for hiring back. I have noticed that oftentimes an institution wants to feel like it's doing a good thing. So it finds one person, hires them once, and then uses that as a story that they tell for social capital for a year and a half. And the money doesn't work like that. They actually need to create relationship and work with us over time. That's how you build audience. That's how you build career and practice. I just also want to name one of the things you surfaced was access intimacy. The act of having to tell you what our access needs are is one that requires vulnerability. It requires bravery. And oftentimes it's a forced intimacy. It's one that I cannot function without doing. So it's really amazing when an organization is actually able to build that intimacy in a really human way. And the last thing I want to shout out that y'all named this, but you didn't name it explicitly. Access and accessibility is not a checklist. It's not something you're like, I did it and now it's done. And now I never have to think about that again. Access is love. Access is a process. And accessibility is something that, I mean, ultimately, I would like to think that maybe 20 years in the future, we'll be having such a radically different conversation because we won't be busy trying to figure out how are we going to fix this thing? We would have already made the essential parts accessible and decided that we were essential. Our participation was essential. It would be designed to do that. All right, my colleagues, we're just about at that time where we're supposed to open up the conversation to our audience. I had like 5 more questions. I wish I could spend a couple hours, y'all. You're very, very smart. You have different practices, and this is just so valuable. But let me ask, were we supposed to take a little small break? Did we want to take a 2-minute break before we transition to questions, or should I just jump into the questions? Well, I see my panelists being like, let's just do it. I'm wondering if any organizers want to tell me, am I supposed to allow us a 2-minute break for breathing and humanness? You know, I'm excited. I just want to keep talking. All right, my friends, let us continue. I'm going to pull up our questions. One of the first questions is, well, actually, this is a little bit of what we were already talking about, but I'm gonna ask it again. And if you have any more responses, please do. If there was one piece of feedback you could give an arts organization on how to improve their accessibility, what's that one piece of feedback? What would that be?
Ask instead of assume. Ask me what I need. Don't assume that I want to be pushed in my wheelchair, or that you need to talk with me, or don't assume, because not only is there the disability, there's the individual person that's living with that disability, and that's going to change things.
Yes. All right. I just saw us all get physically activated. I know I was testifying with my body saying yes to that. Do we have any other one piece of advice? There's a lot of questions, so I want to get to them, but do we have one more piece of advice? One thing. Ask instead of assume is pretty good. Okay. All right. So here's another question. How can friends and family be better advocates? How can your community help support you? And I'm just going to say something. Everybody's always talking about self-care. Let's lean into community care. How can our community actually support us as artists and be advocates? And Malika, I want to hear you. You go right ahead.
I wanted to answer this one because I feel so much community support a lot of the time, and I feel really grateful for that support. And I know that it's the reason that I'm recovering the way that I am. And the biggest thing that I would say to like a family and friends is kind of what Bean just said. Ask, don't assume. Don't assume that I'll be too fatigued to come to the party. Invite me anyway. Don't let me feel left out. Don't make me feel like I'm a burden. Talk to me like I'm normal, because I am. There's a babiness that happens when you go through something, and everyone wants to put you in an egg carton. But what that does is it isolates you. So it's kind of just riffing off of Bean, which is continue to be my friend and my family. Don't change, adapt, listen, communicate, don't assume. Yeah, all of those things. And don't give up. Sometimes it's hard. Disabled people aren't saints who are nice and happy all the time. You know, like it's rough. Talk to me like you talked to me before. Yeah. Keep loving me like an individual. Keep loving your fans, your friends and family. Yeah.
I always have like 5 things I want to add on to your comments. It's taking all of my self-control not to. Just yes and. We have another question from our audience. Panelists, feel free to do go backsies. If you're like, actually, I want to answer that question you asked before, feel free. But this is another, there's an architect in our audience who had a couple of questions for both visual artists and performing artists. So for the visual artist, she was asking, if they want to incorporate arts into their new building and they're trying to engage artists, when is the appropriate time? Early in the conceptual phase or after construction and framing is complete so you can actually see the space? And then the question for the performing artist was, do you adapt your work to the space that you're given? Or would you offer suggestions for the design of public spaces that'll be used for a variety of functions, like lobbies or multi-purpose spaces? I'm going to take a quick moment and respond to this myself, because I have a very strong opinion about this, and it is include disabled artists and all of the kinds of people that you think will be utilizing the space before you start drawing the blueprints. include them in every single step. If you have already built the frame, you might have already invested a bunch of money that you might have to undo after you find something out that was invisible to you because you don't have our lived experience. Let me open this up to the panel, though, now that I've given my big 2 cents. Audience, advice for our architect with these beautiful questions, or panelists.
So for me, if you're in at the concept, that initial stage, and you can stay, this is what is important to us. And are looking at the concepts of universal design. But the reality is there's a lot of places that are already established, don't have a lot of money, and a lot of the accommodations cost a lot. And I would say, start little and keep building. So if it's just moving the dry towels and in the restroom, that takes somebody 10 minutes, really no cost to you. Rearranging tables and chairs, as much as feasible, again, no cost. So I don't like to hear the excuse of there isn't enough money. Yes, if you're going to try to put an elevator in a building that doesn't have an elevator, you're talking some costs. But the fact that you're thinking and are concerned and are willing to take those little steps first, and then you can kind of see the difference it makes. And that encourages you to do more and look for grants that you can do more to make it more accommodating for artists, disabled artists.
King, Chris, I'm wondering if you have any perspectives on, because you were speaking about touring and different venues. I know I've had the experience of going to a venue and then finding out that it didn't have enough radius to like fit my device, or there just literally wasn't a ramp. And the question was, do you adapt your work to the space that you're given, or would you offer suggestions for the design of public spaces? So just wondering, as performing artists, what your perspective is.
Oh, this is Chris. No, I agree. I think there should be some kind of meeting before things are even drafted, for sure. I mean, I think we get the best possible product by including everyone in on the conceptualization of it, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's also a case-by-case situation. When you're planning consecutive dates, you're kind of limited sometimes in terms of how specific you can get for things. Maybe a larger capacity opportunity if it's more of a festival, or big attendance. You're more prone to take those opportunities. And so, yeah, I mean, it's case by case. Sometimes you have to just perform on the ground floor, or kind of be isolated if there's a lot of wires and whatnot on the stage that wasn't communicated, that you need certain space to move around or turning radius. You just have to kind of roll with the punches sometimes. I would say, yeah, try to communicate as much as it needs beforehand. In terms of artists, like trying to get a concise writer to help, and then just try to be flexible as much as you can as you move forward. So yeah, I mean, venues and such. It's a combination of efforts. So it'd be great to see more venues take strides and having things as successful as possible.
I'm wondering, King, do you use an access writer, or do you have a writer that like names some of your accessibility needs in it when you're going to go do a gig with a venue?
I do. I probably can be a little bit more specific in terms of but yeah, I mean, there's requirements in terms of ADA accessible room and access to stage, things like that. But even just as we head through this conversation, thinking of really like all the little things that kind of might be overlooked, that not to be too overbearing or anything, but just to be transparent and how to make scenarios the most positive. Yeah, certainly.
So I know we have one last question, and I see Malika has something to add. So I want to make room for that because I really want to hear it. So please do. And we might not have time to respond to the question about cognitive disabilities, but we'll see if we can fit that in. Please go ahead, Malika.
No, it's Claudia. I'm just gonna email you because I'm entering the field again, and I just thought about having a writer, and I thought maybe.
Oh yeah, girl, I'll hook you up.
But,
I got a Google form.
yeah,
I made a Google form for it because I
okay.
was like, everybody should have an
Okay.
access writer. You're
Okay.
doing
And I
your
have
producers a
cognitive.
favor.
Okay, right. And I do, I saw that question and I can answer, or at least kind of, but if you want to read it out, Claudia. Okay, the question is, do you have suggestions for improving cognitive accessibility in in-person environments? I'm finding a lot of info regarding online tech spaces, but very little info for physical environments. As somebody with a cognitive disability, one of the things for in-person that would be helpful is I have to do it at the beginning of every time I speak or every room I lead, which is saying it, that, you know, I have it. And it's kind of something I've been thinking about, Claudia, since you asked the question, how do we make our rooms better or add by our disability? And when I start speaking my cognitive needs, which is often, I need people to slow down. I need you to project. I need us to turn the music down so we're not, you know, fighting that. And I'm not fighting my brain to take all this information in. And so, like, for me, it's naming it. And as the person who is sometimes the head of the room, once I do that, then all of a sudden, everyone starts to name their accessibility needs because they now feel as though they have permission. And I have been finding in this last year and a half that I've been working as a disabled artist, that every time I specify my needs, other people are empowered. And then all of a sudden I look around and I go, I'm not the only one. But no one has been brave enough or felt the space was safe enough until I articulated it. So that's something I think about with cognitive accessibility, is naming it in person usually helps.
I know we're getting out of time. Can I add something to that? So in terms of cognitive people, if you're giving them a whole list of things at the beginning of something and you expect them to remember that, it's not going to happen. So if you're writing it down so they can see step by step, syllabuses are something I really struggled sometimes to get people to do. And when you have cognitive disability, you can't always bring the word down or process that. So if you're having meetings or something, send the agenda. If there's certain questions, like for this panel, right, send that to the people so they have time to formulate their answers because they really want to be heard.
Wow, this was an amazing discussion. Thank you so much, everybody. We have about 3 minutes left. Alexander, could you please screen share? Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Ralston, and I'm the founder of the Seattle Cultural Accessibility Consortium. And I'm a white woman with short, wavy silver hair, wearing a burgundy shirt with a gold necklace. And I have a virtual background, a blue background, kind of like the sea. This was an amazing discussion. I want to thank you all for coming. And you have all the information in the PowerPoint that we sent you. And I want to have a closing message for you, and that is nothing about us without us. Because as you have heard from these amazing speakers, it's really important to involve everybody from the very beginning and get their access needs met and get their sense of what is going to work for them. So we have a consortium connection on April 27th from 12 to 1. Please register for that because we can continue the conversation and continue to ask and get answers to these amazing questions that people have asked. Thank you so much to those of, who have donated. We have 111 people registered for this and 79 people showed up, which is amazing. 11 people donated. So I really would love to increase that number so that we can continue to deliver programs such as this. Really important for our sector to continue to get information and awareness and advocate for the needs of people with disabilities. And also please fill out our survey and we will be in touch about future happenings. Save the date for May 25th for our arts administrators who are going to be on a panel talking about inclusive practices. And if you know of an arts organization that could be on this panel, let us know. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to our wonderful panelists, our wonderful moderator, and to everyone at SCAC who was behind the scenes helping make this happen. Goodbye, everybody.